Welcome to Garden Tour Saturday. The rock roses are just starting to bloom and they are so beautiful. I'm going to show you the difference in color between two varieties of sandwort, one of my favorite evergreen ground covers. This is a really good side-by-side comparison. Here we have a lemon sandwort that I just planted last spring. I didn't even know this existed at the time when I got my white sandwort. I literally started with one 6-inch starter plant. That's all I planted in this garden, no joke. And about 5 or 6 years later, this is what it looks like. All of the white you see is sandwort. Absolutely crazy. I do suspect that the lemon sandwort will spread out probably just as much as the white colored one. My rhodos are just getting started on their blooming season. Still a ways to go before these flower buds will open. And the stars of the show right now are definitely the creeping phlox and the grace wort. Such pops of color in the landscape. My Shasta daisies are just starting to open. I love these cherry pops of white and yellow. It's so beautiful. In case you're wondering, all of the pansies you're seeing in this video, none of them were planted this year. These are all self-seeded pansies, and that is why they are here, there, and everywhere. They are literally everywhere in the rock garden. They seed themselves. I do not spread these seeds. I planted them once about 6 or so years ago. I used seeds as well as some pansy starters, like a 6-pack. They reseeded themselves and the rest is history. I don't buy purple or yellow pansies. These were all, they are the gifts from nature that keep on giving. I absolutely love these gorgeous blue flowers. They self-seeded in my garden several years ago from the neighbors. They grow kind of wild here. Some people call them invasive flowers. I think they're called a cornflower. The bees love them and they are gorgeous in bouquets. Absolutely love these. was the one I did buy at Home Depot earlier this season. I have more in a different area of the rock garden. This was planted this year and this is the first one to flower. Beautiful color. This is the narrow side garden. Not a ton happening here, but I'll give you some highlights. One creeping phlox plant is in bloom in this narrow side garden. You can see some of my hens and chicks by the fence are doing really well. Every year I harvest some of these babies and transplant them because they will grow right up the fence. Although I love succulents growing on the fence, I think it is so cool. I can't get enough hens and chicks. I move them all over the garden, so if I had enough to keep on the fence and move around, I would leave them on the fence, but too many places to put these little hens and chicks, so I do move them around. Here are Shasta daisies. They are not blooming yet, but they are going to be some of the stars in the side garden. There aren't nearly as many foxgloves this season as the last couple seasons. I do pull them out when they start to look not so good. There are a few, but this year the daisies will be the stars. There are some standard phlox blooming. Oh my goodness, they need a phlox flower perfume. If you've never smelled a phlox flower, highly recommend you smell them. Phlox flowers and pansies. Not typical perfume flowers, but they should be. My rock rose is doing really well here, so lush. We have some more Shasta daisies and another phlox flower. This is my absolute favorite. This color is so gorgeous. This is pretty much my favorite color in a nutshell. It's like you could call this a mix of purple, fuchsia, almost a little bit of a burgundy tone here. Absolutely gorgeous, so beautiful. This just speaks to my soul, this color. I love it so much. If I could bottle up the color of this phlox flower, this purpley fuchsia burgundy delight, I would wear that every day. It is so beautiful. I would love to see that color in like a flowy fairy dress or a flowy fairy top. That would be so beautiful. And that fragrance, I really want a fragrance company to bottle that up. Bottle up the fragrance of a phlox flower and a pansy flower, maybe mix them together and create a perfume. I think it would be delightful. And my snow in summers are just starting to bloom. Favorite later blooming ground covers. It's actually blooming way earlier than usual this season, but the plants are super confused this year, so I'm not too surprised. Here's another one. And here's a long distance look at the narrow rock garden. It is a long length and it is very narrow. Here at the top of the rock garden, there are some succulents, another foxglove, and some autumn joy sedum. Most of the foxgloves, I've noticed, the ones that remained healthy from last season are actually growing close to the fence, which is interesting. Last year they were growing here, there, and everywhere, so they're very sporadic this season. And some oregano self-seeded here, and I couldn't be happier. This is such an abundant herb in my garden. Smells so good, and the flowers are gorgeous. Check it out. My Japanese maple right here is growing through the fence. Some people might not like that, but I actually think it's kind of cool. For now, I'm going to leave it, although it may not stay long term. I love these ferns. They're all over my garden, and these are natural species. They self-seeded themselves. I never planted them in any area of my garden. There are still lots of seedlings of different varieties of flower that have just started growing in the narrow side garden, so I'll definitely do more updates later in this season to show you these different flowers. California poppies are just starting to bloom. I love the pop of orange in the garden. It is so striking. I just love all this new growth on my peach bush. It is so beautiful. It's almost, I feel like the new growth is more beautiful than the flowers themselves on these bushes. So gorgeous.